Be off the hook for the rest of the week. Okay, moving on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ian Edwards from the Professional Standards and Conduct Unit at Curtin University. Ian is a Director of Professional Standards excuse me, I'll start that again. Ian is the Director of the Professional Standards and Conduct Unit at Curtin University. He arrived in Western Australia in 2008, having enjoyed a career as a detective in the United Kingdom. His last role there was managing one of the UK's only online paedophile investigation teams. The unit had secured a 100% conviction rate. He also served in WAPOL. He's also undertaken a role as Senior Investigator at the Department of Education and is now the Director of the Curtin University Professional Standards and Conduct Unit, one of the only such units in an Australian university. Please join me in welcoming Ian Edwards with his presentation, Investigations and Exact Science or Common Sense.
Morning. I'm going to walk around. I don't like standing still. And it's a new suit. I thought I'd show it off. Right. Investigations and exact science or common sense. So I think for anyone here who's an investigator, does investigations, I'm really sorry, but we're going to blow your cover because it is just common sense. You probably want to hear a bit more than just that, so we'll keep going. 35 minutes to go. Before I do, I thought it would be useful just to talk about the planning process for this CCC Misconduct Forum. And I was called to a meeting by David and Ali of the Commission, and they said to me, what do you think people may want to hear at a presentation such as this? I thought, that's an easy one, I've made a list. So I went through my list with them, and I said, we've got some choices. We could talk about, and choices is the important word here, remember that word. We can talk about an error that often causes investigations to fail. We could talk about receiving a complaint, or we could talk about writing allegations. We can talk about define what an interview is. We could talk about planning an interview, conducting an interview, taking effective interview notes. We could talk about writing investigation reports, conducting an analysis of the reports. We could even show an instructional video. Very helpfully, David and Ali said, yeah, we'll do all of those, please. And then Ali decided to throw in, and can we have some audience participation? So we've got 476 people registered to be here, and I've now got to get you all involved. So you should all have a free pen and paper, if you haven't stuck it in your pocket or handbag already. So you'll need a pen and paper, because we're going to play a game. There's one rule for this game, and the rule is that you have got to answer the question. You've got to write an answer down. There's 5 questions, but you've got to write something down. Anyone who doesn't play gets thrown out. There's security at the door. So you may have seen the mystery object game or the hidden image game, whatever you want to call it, and that's what we're going to play. So number 1, what can you see? You've got to write an answer down. You can cheat if you want to. I think the other word is confer, so you can confer, but you've got to write an answer down. Second image. I can see some people not writing. Security's on the way. See lots of people writing. The third one. So I'm ticking off your audience participation, Ali. You've got to write an answer. You can't just leave it blank. Number 4. I can't see much cheating going on. And number 5. So everyone will have 5 answers written down, I'm sure. Does anyone think they got them all right? So no. Okay. So let's see how you got on. Someone suggested that that was a toilet. Number 2? Oh. Did anyone get that? Yep, a few hands. Number 3? Oh. And number 5? Oh. I like that one. So did anyone get all of them right? No one's lying and cheating? Okay. So that's what we would have seen. So, did anyone get the pencil? Okay, we've got some right answers to that. Did anyone actually write down that they saw a yellow and green metallic object with raised ridges? No? But that's what you saw. But people have made the assumption, and I didn't say, what do you think the whole image is? I just said, what can you see? So that's what you could see. So the first part we need to tick off is a common mistake that people make in investigations. And it's that you've got to report on facts. You don't make assumptions. You don't draw the conclusion. So we had the 5 images there, and I would imagine that 1 or 2 of you may have got 1 or 2 of them wrong and may have written something else down. So made the assumption that I've got to write something, I've got to say something, so I'll assume that this is what it's going to be. So that's our first issue. So now we know how to do an investigation. We're all really competent at that. I know that there's a lot of people here who do investigations. All I'm going to give you is my views, my opinions. If you like what you hear, then take it away. If you don't, then please disregard it. So let's do an investigation. And we're going to do this investigation in a particular location, the Shire of Triple Seville. Small shire, located in the middle of the state somewhere. Some bureaucracy, some red tape within there. But they've got a code of conduct. Quite similar to a lot of agencies' code of conduct, I'm sure. You need to have appropriate standards of personal and professional behaviour. There's guidelines for record keeping and using information. Something about the conflicts of interest and the use of Shire resources. Unfortunately, it does tell us a little bit more about the use of Shire resources. It says that employees must use Shire resources conscientiously, honestly, and in a proper manner. So that's our code of conduct, and that's what all our employees have got to sign up to. And all our employees, volunteers, contractors have got to abide by. But this morning, a letter's arrived on the Chief Executive Officer's desk. It's come from Mary Vincent, the admin assistant. And I'm sure you can all read it, but I'll read it as well, so I don't forget what it said. I thought I should let you know that I saw Robin Banks, Director of Paperclips, remove a ream of paper and a box of pens from the stationery cupboard in room 360 at 5 p.m. last night, put them in his briefcase, and then walked out to his car. So we've had a complaint arrive. What are we going to do with this complaint? We've spoken about notifications to the Triple C, notifications to the police as well. Things move very quickly in Triple Seville. We contacted the police, very helpfully said, we don't want to deal with this, we'll give it back to the Shire to deal with. So we haven't managed to offload it yet. Contact the Corruption and Crime Commission, because it is something which is reportable. It's a criminal offence. Potentially the person may lose their position as a result of it. As we'd expect, the Triple C turned it round in about 10-15 minutes. They've received it, they've assessed it, they've written back to us, and they've said, nah, thanks very much for telling us, but you can deal with this one. So there it is. The Chief Executive Officer takes the theft of pens and paper very seriously. It's going to go into a formal investigation, and you've been told that you're going to deal with it. So what do we do? So the first thing we need to look at is writing to Robin Banks and telling Robin Banks what we think he may have done. So we send him an allegation letter. And that's the first part. We need to decide what we're going to allege that he's done. So essentially, we think that Robin's failed to use the Shire resources conscientiously, honestly and in a proper manner. But if we send that to Robin, Robin won't have a clue what we're talking about. It might be that he often nicks things out of cupboards and he doesn't know which one we're talking about. So we need to specify a little bit more and make sure that Robin knows exactly what is being alleged. So we write some particulars. So the first thing we'll tell Robin is what the law is, what the rules are. So we just point out what that code of conduct says, which we've been through before, that he'll use the resources conscientiously, honestly and in a proper manner. Still doesn't really tell Robin what we think he's done, because Robin needs to be able to respond to the allegation. So let's be specific, and we'll tell him that on the 19th of August, we're alleging that he's removed a ream of paper from the stationery cupboard, room 360, being very specific where the offices are. He's taken it away from the offices without the authority to do so. You might notice that we've just talked about a ream of paper and we haven't talked about a box of pens, because we'll put the box of pens as a separate particular. The reason that I would advocate doing that is when we're doing the investigation, and we'll talk about an investigation report a bit later, if we can show that he's taken the paper, but we can't show that he's taken the pens, it's going to make things difficult. If we had it all in as one. So if we had that you took paper and pens, all as one particular, we couldn't satisfy it all if we could only show that he'd taken the pens. So that gives Robin a really clear idea of what we think that he's done. And we'll tell him what will happen if we think that that's what he's done. So if proven, the conduct alleged above will constitute a breach of the Shire of Triple Seville Code of Conduct. So Robin is in no doubt, this is what we're alleging he's done, and Robin can write back and tell us what he thinks. Again, we moved very quickly in Triple Seville, so we sent it off about 5 minutes ago. Robin's written back to us, completely denied that he took the paper and the pens. Let's go and investigate. Let's find out what we think that Robin's done. So one of the first things we need to think about is who are we going to interview for this matter? Who's our witnesses? Who's our respondent? So we know we've got Mary Vincent, the admin assistant, and she was the witness to the incident. Also got Sydney Rossiter, the stocktake officer. There is some bureaucracy at Triple Seville, and they do employ a stocktake officer who regularly does stocktakes of the stationery cupboards. And we've also got Robin Banks, who's our respondent. So we know who we're going to interview. We've got to interview, and some of us might jump at the chance and relish doing an interview, and others may be a little bit more concerned. Help. How do I interview? What's an interview? What am I going to do? How do I ask people these questions? So the first thing that I would suggest you do is you just decide what an interview is. Is it an interrogation? Are we going to be whacking people with phone books, putting on bright lights? It's not. It's a conversation. All you want to do is have a conversation with someone, and you've got a reason behind that conversation. So it's a conversation with a purpose. I know what I want to ask Mary Vincent, and I know what I want to get from the conversation. But what I don't want is for it to be an interrogation, a scripted thing with Mary. And you can condition people to give you full answers to interviews. You can persuade people to talk more fully. So if we take the example of, in the report stage, if I was to say to Mary, have you been away on holiday this year, Mary? Yes. Okay, where did you go? Bali. Was it hot? Yes. Who did you go with? My family. It's really stilted, and Mary will get used to question, answer, question, answer. So we can turn it around a little bit. So Mary, have you been away on holiday this year? Yes. Where did you go? Bali. Sort of fall into a trap here. Bali. I have never been to Bali. Tell me something about Bali. Mary then has got to answer. She's got to give a little bit more detail. So you can then encourage Mary so that she'll know, if I ask a question, then this person's going to expect more of an answer from me. And you can use all different techniques. So it may be that she's talking about Bali and she's talking about the hotel and what a wonderful hotel it was. There was this enormous swimming pool. Swimming pool. So it's then going to make her think, oh, he wants to know about the swimming pool. So you can condition people to talk to you a lot more. So we now need to think about how we plan for the interview. Because we're going to sit down with this person, we're the experts, we're the investigator, they're here to help us. So how do we plan? We write an opening question. So I would suggest with Mary Vincent, the admin assistant, the opening question may be, you made an allegation to the Chief Executive Officer. Tell me in as much detail as possible everything that you possibly can. And it opens the floodgates. It might be, however, that Mary Vincent isn't too intellectually gifted, and her response may be, huh? So we need to think of a contingency question. So if we get the, huh? So we can at least keep it running, rather than asking the same question over again. So our contingency question to Mary may be something like, I understand that you wrote to the Chief Executive Officer to say that you saw somebody take something from an office. Tell me in as much detail as you possibly can what you saw. And hopefully that will then prompt Mary to tell us some more detail. So that's our plan. Some people may write reams and reams when they're planning an interview, but the danger is that you'll end up in a script. So you'll have a script, you'll ask your questions, you'll get your answers, you won't listen to what the answers are, you won't pick up on anything which has been given, and you'll just go through your scripts, yeah, I finished, and you might miss lots of things off. It might be you've got specific areas that you want to cover, and you could just put yourself a small note that if Mary doesn't mention something, then I just need to cover that. But I would say that a good plan for an interview will have 2 questions. But then there's the problem of, what if I get lost, if I forget what they said, or what I want to say, because I've only got my 2 questions and I'm listening, I'm conversing, I'm going to forget where I've gone. I'm going to forget what they've said. I'm going to come out of the interview, and I'm sure that anyone in here who's done an interview has walked out and thought, oh, I've missed it. I forgot to ask this. So let's have an interview with Mary. So we've asked Mary the opening question. And fortunately, she didn't give us the response. We've said to Mary, you wrote to the CEO and said that you saw something yesterday. Tell me everything about that. So Mary's answered, well, I was sitting at my desk. Robin walked in. He looked around. He opened the cupboard. He took out the things, shoved them in his bag, and walked out to his car. OK, Mary, thanks very much. End of interview. I don't really think that would really cut it. So this was Mary's account. And if you think of this is Mary's corridor, this is how Mary's remembered it. She's walked along the corridor, and these are each rooms that she's gone into, because this is what Mary remembers. It may be that Mary had it in a completely different order. And Mary said, well, he took the stuff out of his cupboard, he put it in his car, but that was after he walked into the office, and, oh yeah, I forgot he looked around a bit. But you follow the order that the witness goes with, because your job is to try and help the witness to remember. If you're interviewing a respondent, you can jump around all over the place. But if you're with the witness, you want to try and help them go. So that's what I would do. I would write just some boxes across the top, and then each of these boxes I'm going to explore. OK, Mary, you were sitting at your desk. Tell me everything about the office. Describe the office. It might be that you want to ask Mary to draw a plan. Because once someone draws a plan, you will find they will keep referring back to it, and they'll mark where people were, they'll mark where the door was, they'll mark what route someone walked through. So I would be running down these boxes here, filling the boxes in, so asking the question, and when Mary describes the office, I would write in what she saw in the office and everything. It might be I've got some specific questions that Mary, when I've asked about the office, she hasn't told me who else was there. I might want to know about the lighting, that might be relevant. But what I'm trying to do is I'm funneling and funneling and funneling down till I've absolutely exhausted this area sitting at my desk. I've asked everything I can possibly think of. I've funneled down, I've asked my open questions into my closed ones, and then that box is closed. So we can close this door from the room in the corridor, close the door, lock it, put the key in our pocket, and we can move on. On to the next box. Robin walked in. So tell me about Robin. or describe Robin. We can ask all the questions about Robin. Might be we want to know about anything that Robin said. Again, more specific questions, but again, we're going down into the funnel. I won't go through every single one for you. Suffice to say, we will get the boxes up and we will exhaust the account that Mary's given us, and always bringing it down. So we're going from open to closed. So we've interviewed Mary. We know what Mary said. Mary quite clearly saw Robin walk into the office. He opened the cupboard, took out the things, popped them in his bag, left, walked out to his car, put them in his car and drove away. But what did everyone else say? Sidney Rossiter, the stock take officer, fortunately he did a stock take the day before, and he's noticed that the stock was down by 1 ream of paper and 1 box of pens. Good evidence from Sidney. We've interviewed Robin, who's now coming forward a little bit more, and said that he did go into the office, but he didn't take anything at all from the cupboard. So we've interviewed everyone, we've got all our information together. Where do we go now? We now need to write our investigation report. Now, writing the report, you need to think about headings which you put into it, and different people use different things, but I think you can go with really 4 headings. The background, or what's this all about? What's my investigation all about? What's the history of it? Where did it come from? And in this instance, it was Mary Vincent, the admin assistant, made this report to the Chief Executive Officer, and this is what she reported. And we wrote some allegations which went out to Robin. And this is what the allegation said. So that's the background. We've then got the investigation, which is really, what have I done as an investigator? So who have I spoken to? What documents did I refer to? What did people say when I was speaking to them? What did the documents say? And we're just really saying what we've done to investigate. The tricky part and the more meat of it is the analysis. And we'll do an analysis of one of the particulars soon. But really what you're doing in the analysis is, if you remember we had the allegation and the 4 particulars, we're going to look at each particular and decide whether what the evidence is that's been gathered, and on the balance of probabilities, can we satisfy that particular? As I say, we'll do an analysis shortly. Then there's the conclusion. So having considered all the information that we've got, do we feel that the allegation can be made out? But also, have we identified any systemic issues? Have we identified how this happened? What weaknesses have the agency got which allowed Robin Banks to walk in and take these things away? So, has the allegation been substantiated? I said that we do some analysis of particular 2. So, particular 2, if you remember, that was that on a particular date, Robin walked in and took the ream of paper out of the cupboard. So in our analysis, we can say, in interview, Mary Vincent, the admin assistant, said, and then we can list what Mary Vincent said of relevance to the ream of paper. Sidney Rossiter said, and what Sidney said in his stock take, in his interview. Sidney also did his stock take report, which is produced very helpfully, and what that told us. So we're going through all the information that we've gathered in relation to this one particular, which relates to the ream of paper. Obviously say what Robin Banks had said in his interview. And then we put all of it together and consider what it is, and we can then round up that analysis. We might choose to add weight to someone's account. It might be that we choose to add weight to Sidney Rossiter's accounts, because Sidney's completely independent. He's got nothing to gain or lose by saying anything. He's got the report to back him up. So I've said, having added weight to the accounts of Mary and Sidney, on the balance of probabilities, it's considered more likely than not, which is what the balance of probabilities is, that Robin Banks did take that ream of paper. So that's a very simplified analysis, and we would do the same for each allegation and each particular. So we've managed to get through quite a bit so far. What I wanted to do though was, we spoke about an instructional video as well. It's quite easy hearing someone talking about how you can do it and making it sound easy, so what we'll do is we'll actually look at a video of an interview being conducted, and it might be that you can take something from this, it might be that you like what they're doing, it might be that you don't, but I'll leave it to you.
This is a video recording of an interview that took place with Albert Henry Hall concerning a robbery at the National Midland Building Society on May the 1st, 1990. Present is P.C. Longman and myself, Detective Sergeant Taplow. The interview took place at 1:33 p.m. on May the 1st, 1990. Now, Albert Henry Hall, I have read you your rights when you was arrested earlier, and you have understood them. Is that correct? Yes? Could you tell me where you was around last Tuesday, please, Mr. Hall?
Fucking Sam Stewart, all right?
While you was there, did you not meet with Harold Bristow and Charles Henry Rayner?
Look, I keep telling you, I was there. And I was with Harold Bristow and Charlie Rayner. I'd even bloody know 'em.
Did you not then leave the club in the company of Bristow and Rayner and proceed to the National Midland Building Society where the three of you committed an armed robbery?
Pin that building society flag on me. You've got the right man.
While you was there, did you not meet with Harold Bristow and Charles Henry Rayner?
Looks like you got me fair and square.
I demand not see my solicitor.
No. We're quite happy for you to call whoever you like. How's the tea?
Fine, thanks.
That just about wraps it up. This interview is timed at ending at 1:35 p.m. precisely. WPC Edmonds, the bracelets, please.
So hopefully that gave you some tips on how to conduct an interview, how to do an investigation. Thanks for your attention, and we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, very much, particularly for that instructional video. I'm sure some of it was tampered with. Okay, we're now going to have a 20-minute morning tea break, and then we'll be back for a presentation from Melissa Dove from the CCC on what we look at when we're looking at internal investigations and how they've been conducted. The time is now